Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
All right. It's my favorite Thursday 4 o'clock radio show. You know why? Because me and Philly are on it. Philly, my man, it's good to see you again, buddy. And we've got a heck of a show for all of you guys out there on listening to us on KMET, catching us on the podcast, and everywhere else you can catch our show. We've got a great show. We're going to talk about the only winners of this past weekend, Angel City. Then we've got LAFC, who is not so dynamo, versus Houston. We got the Galaxy who went hot and muggy St. Louis. Oh, the eye roll from Philly, man. You got to watch the podcast just for that. And then all kinds of things have been happening with Orange County Soccer Club since we last checked in. And we'll dig into those guys a little bit later on the show. Philly, my man, how are you, baby?
Tim, the dad joke. If you'd be any more cornier, you'd be all ears, buddy. There's a farming joke for you. But what's going on, my man? What's up, Soccer in 60? Hello to everybody out there joining us. Like you said, everybody's new favorite Thursday afternoon soccer pod is back for another delightful episode. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. I know I did. I had way too much fun. Tim, I know you did, but it's time to get back to work and time to get back to Soccer in 60.
Absolutely. And you know what, Philly? We've got a big deal today. We've got a new segment. It's going to be called LA's Best 11. And it's a cool segment. We've got everybody coming into the show today. So we've got Nina. We've got Amanda the Panda. It's pretty cool. Thank you very much for our producer in the background helping me out with some of these things. We've got this rocking and rolling. Philly, what exactly happened to LAFC this past weekend?
Well, we'll be talking about that, but I just have to ask you a question first.
Sure, buddy.
Who has 4 thumbs and is about to get after it? These
guys.
All right. All right. I had to see your corny joke and raise you another one. All right. So, yeah.
Love it.
Transitioning on over to the black and gold, LAFC has been busy as of late. 3 games in a 7-day span, 6 matches in 19 games and 19 days. That's a lot. The Houston match would be LAFC's first regular season game since July 20th, and their first regular season home game since a 1-1 draw versus Real Salt Lake back on July the 17th. Now, for LAFC and the Houston Dynamo, 15th meeting all time. LAFC 6-4-3 against the Dynamo, and well, the last time out, LAFC had a great deal of success against the Dynamo in the 2023 Western Conference Final that propelled them to hoist a trophy of being Western Conference champs and heading on to their second consecutive final. Now, the Dynamo are a team that are on the cusp of making the playoffs, a team much better on the road, and I feel like I've said that about quite a few teams in Major League Soccer this season. Much better on the road with a record of 6-5-2 versus at home where they're 4-3-5. Very interesting. LAFC fans would be very thrilled to welcome back fan favorite Latif Blessing. He's having a breakout year with the Houston Dynamo as he is their second leading scorer. And also they would bring in Franco Escobar. He started the game, got an assist too. Franco Escobar was part of that 22 MLS Cup winning LAFC team. Let's get into things. It wasn't a very good game for LAFC, Tim. What was that quote that you started the pod off with again, by the way?
They weren't so dynamo versus Houston.
Yeah, that. They weren't so dynamo. Now, LAFC starts off in a 3-4-3 formation. Olivier Giroud set to make his first regular season appearance for LAFC, but he would be on the Pine Pony to start the match. Getting into things, LAFC would create a couple of opportunities for themselves. Denny Bwanga tried a lot of things, but Denny would get picked, his pocket picked time and time again. He did not have a very good game. Hugo Lloris probably had one of the best games for LAFC, other than based on FOTMob's player ranking, Matty Bogusz. More on that when we talk about our best 11. Can't wait to pilot that. But 28 minutes in, Houston scores the first goal. Terrible defending by LAFC in the box. Ezequiel Ponce, who was just an awesome player, he had the first goal of the game. Eric Sviatchenko would get credited with the dime. LAFC would fall on their heels early on. LAFC is not a team that does well when the opposition scores before them. After, spoiler alert, they lost. They're now 0-4-5 when the opposition scores against them first this season. Now, if it wasn't for the goalkeeping prowess and shot-stopping abilities, Tim, of Hugo Lloris, LAFC could have easily gone down by a much further margin going into the locker room. Starting things off in the second half, we'd see some changes in the lineup. Steve Cherundolo would bring in Edward Atuesta and Timothy Tillman. Eventually, they would sub in Olivier Giroud in the 67th minute, making his first LAFC regular season appearance at BMO. But that would be spoiled because 5 minutes later, Houston's Loris Denali, off of his right foot, getting a dime from former LAFC defender Franco Escobar, result of a through ball, that would put the Dynamo up by a score of 2-0, and that would end it for LAFC. We would see Latif Blessing sub into the game in the 88th minute. Sadly, though, as a result of Lawrence Anali, this breakout player that the Houston Dynamo just brought in, poor kid tore his ACL in that match, which is why he came out in the 88th minute, bringing in Latif. Everybody still loves Latif Blessing. He bled for LAFC, and he was welcome back, but it is unfortunate that it came on the heels of an ACL injury. So as I mentioned, that would be the end of the game. The player of the match, truthfully, was Houston Dynamo goalkeeper Steve Clark. He'd end up 6 saves. He gets a clean sheet, and this would be the 11th time this season that an opposing goalkeeper has had 6 or more saves against LAFC in the regular season. The black and gold definitely played as if they had competed in 6 games in 19 days. They were sluggish. And as Steve Cherundolo said in the press conference, in a season, you're going to have peaks and valleys, and they just did not play very well. Although they lost, they still remain in second place in the Western Conference with a record of 14-6-5 and 47 points. This will be LAFC's second loss of the season at BMO, which is wild. LAFC would introduce Olivier Giroud into the lineup, which is kind of cool. And not only is this the second loss that LAFC has had at home, this is the second time they got shut out at home. But the problem is they didn't score in that game on March the 9th against Sporting Kansas City. The next matchup, Tim, the Houston Dynamo. Preview too much of that. Now, I'm sure some of y'all are scratching your head going, why is LAFC playing the Dynamo again? I'll tell you why. This game was originally scheduled for July the 7th. Unfortunately, there was a hurricane by the name of Beryl that created the canceling of this game and the rescheduling. So now LAFC is going to go back to Shell Energy Stadium this Saturday. The game is going to be at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time on Apple TV, of course. And LAFC might get an opportunity to enact revenge. But Tim, there's a problem. Can you guess what that problem is? Or should I just tell you?
Not quite sure what that problem is, Philly. Do tell, young man.
Oh, he called me a young man. Nobody's called me a young man in a long period of time. You know what I like about working with you, Tim? I do feel like a young man. So thank you very much. We were cracking some jokes about you earlier being around when basketball was born in 1892. Tim's so old, he was around when Burger King was the prince. All right, let me get back to it. LAFC is going to be without 6 players. 6 players. No Denny, and this is because of the international break. No Denny Bouanga. He's going to be playing with Gabon. No Matty Bogusz. He got his first call-up for the Polish national senior team. Congratulations to him. No Omar Campos. He's going to be featuring for Mexico's U23. No Maxime Chanot. He's going to be playing for Luxembourg. No David Martinez. He's going to be playing for Venezuela. And no Kike Oliveira because he's going to be playing with Uruguay. Now, they're all going to be gone from roughly September 2nd, which obviously we're in that time frame, till September 10th, which means they all will be back by the time LAFC heads down to Carson to take on the Galaxy on the 14th. But that's down the road. Denny is going to be with Gabon for 2 games in the Africa Cup of Nations, the qualifying matches, that is, against Morocco on September the 6th and against Central Africa Republic on the 10th. As far as the other players, Matty Bogusz, this is going to be great. He gets to square off against Scotland on September the 5th and versus Croatia on September the 8th. Keep an eye on him because he's been playing lights out. He's currently very second. Well. Oh, yeah. He's currently second on LAFC's roster with 13 goals. Career high, by the way, and 6 assists. Omar Campos playing with Mexico's U23, 2 friendlies against Panama, one in Toluca on September the 6th, the other one in Mexico City on September the 9th. Maxime Chanot, he's in the UEFA Nations League game. He's going to be competing against Northern Ireland on September the 5th in Belfast and versus Belarus on September 8th in Luxembourg. I like Luxembourg. It's a pretty city. The one thing, though, that stands out to me is there's a TGI Fridays in the downtown district. Why I remember that, I couldn't tell you. And then Venezuela and David Martinez, they're going to be competing in FIFA World Cup qualifying against Bolivia on the 5th. And this is the fun one, folks. If you are a fan of LAFC or if you hate LAFC, either way, this is going to be a fun one as Kike Oliveira and David Martinez will be seeing each other as Uruguay is going to be set to face Venezuela on September the 10th. That's going to be fun. Oliveira will also take on Paraguay on September the 6th in a World Cup qualifier. Kike Oliveira also having a breakout season. It was rumored that he was going to go to Liga MX and play with Toluca. That didn't go down. There were rumors that Matty Bogusz would head over into the Scottish Premier League to play with Giant Celtic. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen, and so LAFC gets to retain these players. Now, I mentioned they lost him. They lost. And you're going to talk about the Galaxy momentarily, but with the Galaxy losing, LAFC still in firm grasps of second place. I mean, they got Real Salt Lake like right by them, but they've only played 25 games. Galaxy are currently in first place in the West with 52 points, having played 3 more games. And RSL is tied in points with LAFC, having played 2 more games as well. So still very much is in the hands of LAFC to come out and win that Western Conference. And we know fireworks are going to happen. Not only do they happen on the 4th of July when both teams squared off against one another in the Rose Bowl, they're going to happen down the 110 at Dignity Health Sports Park because both these teams are going to face each other. It's going to be Marco Reus competing against Olivier Giroud. That's going to be the storyline that you and I are going to focus on next week talking about that. But for the most part, that ends your one more quick thing. As far as where LAFC stands for in terms of the supporter shield, doesn't look very favorable for the black and gold. Inter Miami currently at 59 points, having played 27 games. LAFC is 12 points behind them with 47, having played 2 less games. Unless Inter Miami starts to stink it up, I don't know if LAFC is going to have the opportunity to catch them. At this point, Galaxy are a lot closer at catching Inter Miami. So it's going to be a race, not only for the Western Conference, but for the supporter shield. So keep an eye on that. And that concludes your LAFC wrap-up.
Yeah, that's a good point you make there, Philly, that they played 3 less games than the Galaxy. Now, looking at the standings, it's kind of funny. We're 27, 28 games into the season. Inter Miami has already clinched a playoff spot. Yeah. That's just fascinating. It blows me away that they're already bombs away into the playoffs. So,
and they've been doing this without the likes of Messi too. I mean, Messi's probably going to be out for a little while longer. Now the question is whether he's going to be able to really have an impact when he comes on. But it's Messi, for Christ's sakes. It's Messi. Yeah, I would take Messi right now over pretty much any other. I might be going out on a limb, but I might take Messi over any of the Ballon d'Or nominees. That is a hot take. At the very least.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good take there, Philly. Yeah, and with that, let's hop over to the Galaxy a little bit. We had talked about this at length last week about them going into St. Louis and St. Louis playing much better at home than they are on the road. They're atrocious on the road. No wins. They got a mob of losses. They're just miserable on the road. But at home, they're great. I mean, look, come on. On the road, they've got 7 results out of 13 games, and all 7 of them are ties. However, at home, they come into this game 4-4-5. And like we talked about last week, one of the things that they do really well at home, or at least well enough at home, they're not the LA Galaxy by any stretch with 10 wins and only 1 loss. But what they do is they play up to their competition, and they played up to the LA Galaxy. You listen in to the announcers, and I caught some of the St. Louis feed as well. St. Louis was treating this as their championship game, as their biggest game of the season. They came out and they played really well off the hop. And again, it's early September in St. Louis. And if you've ever been to the Arch there in St. Louis, not the golden ones, but just the big giant single one, it's hot, it's muggy, it's miserable. And they packed that house in St. Louis this weekend. There was not a seat to be had, and it was just an ocean of red. And, you're looking at this game, and they go into this, and Marco Reus makes his first start in the LA Galaxy uniform. He's out there, and he's starting the match. Why, you ask? Because Ricky Pooch is not even making the trip out to St. Louis. He misses the game due to yellow card accumulation. And we'll get into that a little bit later on, because there's another person that's going to be missing our game against LAFC in a couple weeks due to also yellow card accumulation. And these are star players that the LA Galaxy need out there. And what happens? Just, 8.5 minutes in, St. Louis collects a poor outlet pass from John McCarthy, and 4 quick passes later, after a failed shot, the first shot attempt is blocked by the Galaxy defense. Teuchert from St. Louis puts the ball far post past John McCarthy, and it's 1-0, and it's 9 minutes in. This is boding really, really well for the game that St. Louis plays. And the reason why is tactically, they don't want to give up goals. You look at, 7 away ties it's one of the tops in the league. I mean, you look at it, yeah, they're leading the league in away ties with 7 with Salt Lake. So at home, they're doing the same thing. They're playing a very conservative game. And the game's 1-0 at halftime, right? St. Louis is playing well. The heat is kind of getting to the Galaxy. But after the break, Paintsill moves to his more natural position as a winger. And Miguel Berry comes on. And 44 seconds into this second half, Miguel Berry takes a little deft pass, lays it straight off. And the play that Miguel Berry makes to make this pass is great, because it's a loose ball in the box. And Miguel Berry fights off the defender. He's using every muscle he's got. And he taps the ball to Gabriel Peck. And Peck one-times this thing and just buries it. Keeper's got no chance. And it's 1-1, just literally 45 seconds into the second half. And so now you're thinking, all right, the Galaxy have got, are the second leading goal scorers in the second half. And they've got another one. They've got, in the past 3 games, they've got 4 second half goals. And you're looking, hey, this is what's going to happen. 68th minute, though, the death knell comes for the Galaxy as another poor pass, this time by Paintsill. And Edward Lubin, and I've been working on that all afternoon, so I hope I did that right, collects it and feeds Jaden Reed on the left-hand side. And one of the things tactically that St. Louis does in this space is Jaden Reed's got the ball on the left-hand side. And Nokvi Thoresen points for the ball. He wants the pass. He wants the pass at the 6-yard box. What happens is, unfortunately, 3 Galaxy players collapse on him because they think Reed's going to make that pass. What he does is he puts this thing right about the penalty spot, and Marcel Hartl one-times this thing. He opens up his hits. He hits the ball with the inside of his foot, and John McCarthy has got no chance. He's somewhat blocked by the 3 defenders and the St. Louis player in front of him, and it's in. It's back of the net, and it's 2-1 St. Louis. And one of the most interesting things about this is you have 3 other guys at the top of the box that never collapse down either. You've got all 3 Galaxy defenders going after a guy who doesn't have the ball, and Hartl's at middle of the box with nobody within 3 or 4 yards of him. So poor defending, but just a fantastic pass by Reed and an even better goal by Hartl to make it 2-1. St. Louis bogs down the rest of the game. The penalty box is 44 yards wide. That's where they stayed the rest of the game. There was not too many times that they were going out and pressing on outside of that middle 44 yards of the pitch. and it did the Galaxy in. They couldn't get any really high quality shots. There was a header by Joveljic late, but it bounced right to the St. Louis keeper and kept the game 2-1. And excuse me, a couple of things about this game that are fun facts, even though the Galaxy did lose. I just mentioned Joveljic. He made his 100th appearance in an LA Galaxy jersey this game. Fantastic. You know, he's been around for a long time. He's one of the leading scorers on the team. And, you know, this is the first loss for LA in MLS play after 3 straight wins. And Gabriel Peck, who gets the lone marker for the Galaxy in this game, he leads the team in both goals and assists with 13 goals and 11 assists. And he'll be playing in that big matchup, as the Galaxy don't have a game this weekend, but he will be playing in that game against LAFC. A little earlier, I mentioned Pooch missed the game due to yellow card accumulation. And unfortunately, this coming game against LAFC, Paintsill, I don't know what he was thinking. He got angry, but when it's 90 minutes plus 2 and you're going over and trying to have a discussion about, a previous play with the referee, those things typically don't end well. And sure enough, he got a yellow card, 90 plus 2, and now yellow card accumulation. He's going to miss that next game against LAFC. Greg Vanney talked about it in the post game. And, Pooch was one thing because he was chasing down a guy who was back checking. He knocked him down. We can give him, that one can be kind of dismissed, and that one can kind of be not glossed over, but understandable. But when you're flapping your yapper at the referee, 90 plus 2, you can't be doing that and get a yellow card and put your team down, one of your best players, for the next game against the biggest rivalry here in LA soccer sports.
You're 100% right. I mean, he cost his team and he cost fans on both sides an opportunity to really see a even matched, exciting, competitive game. Because when you get a player the likes of Paintsill that's out, should LAFC win, which they don't do really going down to Dignity Health Sports Park. I don't even think they have one against the Galaxy in Dignity Health Sports Park. I know they've tied several, but without the likes of Paintsill, that just, for lack of a better term, it just sucks, because there'll always be the narrative, oh, okay, well, we didn't do this because we didn't have our best player. I hate that. As a fan of the sport and as a fan of this rivalry, I want to see both teams healthy and eager to compete with one another, where they're all throwing everything at one another and giving everybody the best matchup possible. So it is unfortunate. Hopefully that he learned his lesson and Paintsill doesn't end up in a scenario like that yet again.
Yeah, I agree with you. When it comes to this rivalry, you want to see everybody happy, healthy, and getting after it for 90 plus, right? You don't want to see anybody, getting limping off for yellow card accumulation. You want everybody getting out and getting after it. And unfortunately, Paintstill's not going to be part of that party, but Pooch will be back. So hopefully that can, bring in some of this, and then we can, in the Galaxy, maybe put Miguel Berry in there to start the match. Maybe he comes in and plays in Paintstill's place, but we'll have to see. That'll be 10 days. So we'll get into that matchup way deeper next week. And with that, what's going on? So, a lot of us know that we're proudly sponsored by the Empire Strykers here on Soccer in 60. We teased a little bit of stuff last week on, the show. What exactly happened this week, Philly? Because there was some big news.
For sure. A couple of things actually happened over the weekend. I mean, real quick, let's just make sure that we announce this. September 29th, USA is taking on Mexico in a doubleheader. That's men and that's women. So it'll be fun. Yours truly will be on the call. Still waiting for confirmation as to what platform that's going to be on. Look, tickets are between $20 and $40, somewhere around there. cheaper than going to a movie theater. You're going to see some really good players competing against one another. You got Breck Shea over there on the U.S. men's national side. You've got Marco Fabian over there on the Mexico side, along with Miguel Ponce. You've got the two Golden Boot winners, co-Golden Boot winners in the Major Arena Soccer League, and that is Zach Regan of the Kansas City Comets, squaring off against Marco Fabian of the Empire Strykers. Cool stuff. So once again, September 29th, there'll be a men's game and a women's game, and that actually is a nice segue for the announcement that the Major Arena Soccer League did make. Now, the MASL has been around for about 10 years. There's 13 teams that are in the league. There was 14, but the Florida Tropics have called it TO for a little while. Now, the MASL announced an alignment of its M2 side, its second division, and its 3 side, along with another indoor league that's been around for a little while called the Premier Arena Soccer League, the PASL. So that's basically going to create a pool of 80 different teams all around the country playing indoor soccer, which is kind of neat. Now we have somewhat of an established pyramid to get from to get up to the highest level of professional indoor soccer, which is the MASL. But the coolest thing, Tim, there's going to be a Major Arena Soccer League women's division. Woo-hoo! And that's going to be the big news. And some of the women that you're going to see competing possibly in that USA-Mexico game, you might get the opportunity to see them competing in the MASLW, which is what they're calling it. They already have the social media pages up with that, Twitter, MASLW. It's going to be fun. There's some really talented players, in particular in this area. I don't know if we're going to get a team in LA as of yet. I would love for there to be a team in this area because there are so many talented female soccer players out and about and all around here, and it would be so cool seeing them compete against one another. I'm going to say this, even though the guys' game last year ended at 6-5 and it was a very competitive game, we saw far more golazos in the women's game. I had such a good time calling that with my good friend, the Dr. Jonathan Reimer. But yes, the MASL continues to expand and get bigger. This is a big news, this unification. Like I mentioned, 80 teams from coast to coast across 2 countries and 4 leagues are all going to be playing under the MASL. Big news for indoor soccer.
Yeah, it's huge news, and so when you look at this with these 80 teams, as you mentioned, the feeder system into M2, into the MASL, and now into the MASLW, it's an amazing opportunity for those players that maybe aren't making it in that outdoor game because, again, it's competitive outdoor as well as indoor. But when you put in this type of system to teach these players how to really truly play the indoor game, it's going to make the quality of product that is being put on the field at the MAS level even better than it is today. With this alignment, I think MASL is going to be not quite back to where the old MISL was, 30 years ago. But I believe that you're going to have more teams, and the quality of play is going to go up probably by at least 30 or 40% just within the next couple of years because of this alignment.
60% of the time, that works all the time. That doesn't even make sense. Sorry, I had to quote an Anchorman statement. Statistics, baby. Statistics. Whether or not it increases by that amount, I don't know, but I'd like to think that would be the case. Either way, indoor soccer is growing, and it's creating another avenue for professional athletes to go out there and compete. If you're an MASL player, right? I'm sorry, an MLS player, you're bound to the club that you play on. So let's just say you're the last man on a roster, making the league minimum, which has actually risen quite a bit since 2016. I will say that much. But if you are playing in the USL, you have the opportunity to also compete in the MASL as well. So you're deriving an income from outdoor. You're deriving an income from indoor. And there are players that have done that. Tony Walls of the St. Louis Ambush did that. I know Frank Tayu early on was doing that as a member of San Antonio FC and then playing indoor on the various teams that he played on. So this is a really, really cool thing. Just to see the league continue to be ambitious and grow makes me feel really happy. One last thing I want to say real quick. There was a tournament that took place at the Upland Y. It was called the King's Cup Tournament, which was run by former member of the Empire Strykers, Frank Tayu. It was a cash prize tournament with $50,000 going to the winner. Jonathan Reimer was on the broadcast for 2 days. I was on the only for the second day. It was a really competitive, very exciting indoor tournament. If you want to catch some of those highlights, if you go to MASL's YouTube page, you will be able to see all of those games. It was won, the cash prize was won by a team consisting of all MASL talent, including newly re-signed and coming back home, Robert Palmer. He was part of that $50,000 winning team. They beat a team, Pumas, Alabama, that had quite a few players that competed in the TST for the champions, La Bombonera. It was a fun game, a fun tournament. Last year, there was only 5,000 viewers. This year alone, just on day 2, there was over 30,000. So Frank Tayu's Kings Cup tournament is growing, and so is indoor soccer. And I love that, and I love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I caught some of those games on it, and it was fun watching it, understanding it, checking it out. Listening to you and Reimer on the call was great, and just seeing multiple different teams coming out and really playing at a high level. So super fun, nice job on that. And with that, we're going to call it quits on MASL for the day, and we're going to go to Nina Kiefer and Amanda the Panda and talk about Angel City FC.
What's up, Soccer and 60 fans? It's your girl Panda here from Angel City Chicks. Joined alongside me today is, of course, the one, the only Nina Kiefer. What's going on today?
What's up, everybody? This is a little chaos moment within Soccer and 60. Angel City Chicks coming to you to bring you the best from Angel City. And we got a game to recap and a game to preview. Panda, what do you think? Should I get into it?
You know what? I think you need to go because it's a good one, and I know we're going to really want to spend some time with it.
Absolutely, because Angel City Football Club beat Chicago Red Stars 2-1 at home today, following goals by forwards Alyssa Thompson and Sydney LaRue, and midfielder Bea Franklin scored Chicago's only goal. Angel City was able to open the scoring in the 6th minute when midfielder Maggie Doherty Howard sent a curling shot to the far post, which Chicago goalkeeper Alyssa Nair dove to block. That ball fell into the run of Thompson, who tapped it into the back of the net with Nair just out of position. Love to see Thompson getting another one on her belt. She had, of course, a brace last week, and now she's got another. And each team then ends up having a goal called offside before the half. But the moment that got us all on our feet centers around Sarah Gordon.
Oh my gosh. If you were watching this game at home, you probably got a much better view than we did in our seats, because right before the end of the half, the 45-minute mark, we did see Sarah Gordon go down. And of course, we all were clutching our pearls, holding our breath, because anytime Iron Woman herself, Sarah Gordon, goes down, you want her to just be okay. And well, it was kind of interesting because, spoiler alert, she did end up being okay, but man, was it in dramatic fashion. If you go back and watch, she had such a gnarly head injury that, what I've heard, required 15 or 16 stitches in her head. And of course, they can't do surgery on the field, so they had to wrap her up with a nice little fashionable black headband and send her back out onto the pitch, but not before she had to wipe the blood out of her hair and off of her jersey. Oh my gosh, are we even surprised at this point that Sarah Gordon is able to bounce back from an injury like that? No, we're not. That is exactly what we expect from her. But you know what that did, Nina? Well, it added quite a bit of stoppage time. We ended up with quite a bit. We'll get into that in just a minute because, well, the game, the show, all of it must go on. And that's exactly what happened. The Red Stars, though, were able to equalize in the 45 plus 10 minute. Yeah, you heard me right. Plus 10 minute, because, well, we had 17 minutes of that stoppage time here. And, well, in that stoppage time, we saw Swanson send a free kick on the ground to defender Natalia Kuika, who had made a late arriving run to the edge of the penalty area. She sent a looping pass to midfielder Bea Franklin inside the box, who placed her shot just inside the near post and into the back of the net. You saw the anguish and the frustration on the faces of Angel City at that time because, 17 minutes of stoppage time, and even at the 10-minute mark, they're saying, man, why couldn't we just go into the half up a goal? And you're always just afraid that that's going to do something to that momentum of the team. But I don't think that happened, did it, Nina?
It did not. I would argue that 17 minutes of stoppage time is excessive. There needs to be a cap. Anything more than 10, you should be giving out yellow cards. There is no reason games should be getting that much time. That has got to be delay of game. In this case, it wasn't. It was hydration breaks and a horrible injury. But 17 minutes is ridiculous. And as you said, the momentum, though, didn't stop. Angel City came out swinging. They had a couple of chances early in the half, and then they dominated possession to end the match, creating lots of chances, which all came down to defender M.A. Vignola, who sprinted up the left wing to pick up a long pass by midfielder Rocky Rodriguez, who controls the ball inside the 18 and fires off a low cross. LaRue was making a central run and connected, making a one-time finish to regain the lead for Angel City in the 91st minute. That's how the score ends. Angel City take the win.
So many times we sit here and talk about these matchups, and the game's so good for 90 plus minutes, and Angel City just at the death gives up a goal. And I love, love, love that we finally were able to do it back to them and pull off a win. 3 points, helping us climb another rung on that ladder. Let's talk a little bit about some ACFC milestones from this matchup. We did see forward Alyssa Thompson earn her 7th career NWSL regular season goal. That was in that 6th minute, making it the earliest regular season goal in club history since Savannah McCaskill scored in the 2nd minute on July 1st, 2022 against Portland. Now, Sydney forward LaRue. Well, I am just making up names right now. I am just doing things, incorporating them into this the way that I can. Forward Sydney LaRue earned her 46th career NWSL regular season goal in the 90+1 of the match, making it the 4th latest goal in the club history and 9th latest in NWSL scoring history. And then lastly, the other end of that goal coming from defender M.A. Vignola, earning her 2nd career NWSL assist in the 90+1 minute to help Sydney LaRue nail that game-winning goal and earn us that 3 points. What a game, Nina. I love talking about these wins, especially when I feel like we just played a complete game.
Absolutely. Highlights on stats. We had 13 shots with 7 on target, which is more than 50% on target, 61% possession, and 82% pass accuracy. That puts Angel City in the number 9 position on the table, and we are home again this Friday, taking on Seattle Reign at 7 p.m., that live broadcast on Prime Video. And Angel City and Seattle actually haven't met so far this season, but Seattle has won the head-to-head recently. They've got 3 wins, 1 draw, and Angel City with just 1 win. Our latest matchup, Seattle beat us 1-0, but before that, Angel City were able to win 2-1. Looking back even further, a 4-1. So this is going to be a difficult game, but Seattle Reign have also changed over a lot of their players recently, and they're only sitting 2 spots behind us on the table. So we're technically outranking them. I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be a great, very physical and goal-minded matchup. Panda, let us talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Angel City have scored 6 goals in their last 5 matches, and Seattle scored 8. So feel like this is going to be a nice high-scoring game. It's going to all come down to defense, which really feel like Angel City has a little bit of edge on this. I think they've really been coming together of late, and hopefully we see Sarah Gordon back there on that back line for Friday's match. Now, Angel City and Seattle Reign, they have not drawn on any of their last 3 matches, meaning they've been duking it out for a win. So you are guaranteed to probably see one of these teams walking away with all 3 points. Now, Alyssa Thompson has created the most chances for Angel City with 5. And Jessica Fishlock has created the most big chances for Seattle Reign with 5 as well. And then Ziara King, she's got the most shots on target per match for Seattle Reign with 1.4. It's going to be a great match. Some things to look out for. What do you think? Who do we need to be aware of in this match, Nina?
I mean, you said it's not going to be a draw, so let's look out for those top scorers. Claire Emsley, of course, coming out for Angel City with 6 goals on the season, and Balser, who's got 5 goals on the season and 1 assist, both of them averaging 1.2 shots on target per match, both of them having 17 and 18 matches played, doing a really good run for their teams. I think this is going to be a competitive match. I'm predicting high scoring. We're not going to get that draw, but I think it's going to be a late minute stoppage time goal to end it.
I think it's going to be a great matchup. Tune in. Make sure you see it. Come out to the game. Hit us up if you see us out there. Either way, I cannot wait. And you know what I love, Nina? I love that we got to come on here and talk about this team, especially when they're doing well. And we did it so quick. You know what? We did it way quicker than that stoppage time in that last game, which kind of leaves me thinking, you know what? I want to hear the guys. I want to hear what they have to say about this. So you know what? Hey, let's kick it right back to Tim and Philly, and let's get your thoughts on stoppage time and having almost a whole nother half worth of that.
Thanks, Panda. Thanks, Nina. Yeah, what do you think about that, Philly? I've got a couple of ideas about how they could make this much more reasonable. Let me get your take first.
I'll tell you this. My first take is it's kind of weird to have my wife call me Philly. I've always been weirded out by that aspect, but we're working together, so I get it. Here's the deal. What's better than soccer, Tim, or football? More soccer. But at the same time, you don't want to be robbed of the actual game itself.
Right.
Sarah Gordon got busted up quite nicely. If you see her social media, I mean, that wasn't just a little knock, a tiny little bump. She's a tough girl, without a doubt. I mean, from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, she goes down. This isn't like some kind of like I'm falling on the ground, incidental contact type deal. No, Sarah Gordon is tough. So in that sense, if they needed the time to tend to her, then they really needed the time to tend to her. The only thing I would say, and you got to play that game. Like I want my 45 minutes of each half plus a couple of minutes. That's what we pay for. Ticket prices keep going up. So I want to see the full action. But if there's anything that we might be able to do, and I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree with me on this, if you're utilizing hydration breaks, maybe that should be a cap. I mean, you can't stop the clock because that's an international rule. We're not NCAA soccer here. But if anything, maybe don't necessarily take into account the hydration break time, especially when you have a serious injury that occurred with Sarah Gordon.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, the hydration breaks are designed just to be that. They're not designed to be 3-4 minute. They're designed to go over, get some water, cool yourself off, and get back to playing. You know, when it's 90 degrees out and 85% humidity, you got to have those. But the reality is when Sarah Gordon goes down, you've got to add that. So, you know, can you change the rule maybe? And when there's a major injury like that takes 10, 12 minutes for somebody to get treated and off the field, can you referee physically stop the clock on his watch and they stop it in the stadium so that you're not, because the teams are getting, hey, we're 45 plus 17. Well, no, you're not. You're getting 45, right? You're not getting, 62 minutes. You're getting a 45-minute match or a half, right? And that's what you want. Like you said, you want to pay to see a full 90-minute game. I don't want to see, something that I think is now 140 minutes. I don't want that. I want 90.
Yeah, of course. But at the same time, it's like, when you're taking that long to deal with the injury scenario, that obviously affects the flow of the game, the momentum, and with players having to stop, play, and then resume. I mean, to me, that gives the potential for injury to somebody. So that's another thing that you want to avoid.
Yeah, for sure. Because when you stop playing like that, you stop moving around, you're standing around, you feel bad, obviously, for the injured player. But what happens is that now you've cooled off, right? Your legs aren't warm. And then you go back out and try to go full speed again. And it's a problem. Yeah. So with that, we finished last week's show before major news came out of Orange County. We've been talking about it for weeks on the show that Orange County has had some really tough struggles. They hadn't scored in 5 straight games. And unfortunately, one of the things, you can't fire all the players. So they did have to part ways with Coach Paul Hardiman, who had recently been on the show. Great guy, great coach, has been with the team since 2021. And one of the coolest things, this is how cool Coach Hardiman is. So he spent countless hours with the Orange County Soccer Club Foundation's Soccer for All program. And one of his stipulations was some of his severance package, was a good chunk of it, was a donation into that foundation. So, you know what, Paul, we're sad to see you go. You're a great guy and even better guy on the way out. I mean, what a way to take care of the Soccer for All program. And if you don't know anything about it, look it up, go check it out, because it's actually really very cool for Orange County and soccer as a whole, right? We're big fans of the game. So, but when we get to the game, assistant head coach Danny Stone takes over, and Danny had the boys ready to play off the hop. Really, really emphatic. Ethan Zubak, who came out and was just possessed in the first 20 minutes of the game, getting 2 goals. And so again, this is a team that hasn't scored in over 5 games. And yet within the first 18 minutes, Ethan Zubak comes out and takes a great feed from Seth Kassapol on his first goal, and then an even better one on his second goal from Chris Hagart. It was great. The house was rocking down at the Champ. They had a good crowd in there. And so to put that type of markers 2-0 up that early in the game, it looked very, 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 very good for the Orange County boys. About 39 minutes into this match, though, things start to kind of unravel a little bit. And, there's a play where Dylan Powers has to take down one of the Las Vegas players. It's one of those things where you got to get him. Unfortunately, it's in the penalty box, and when he takes down Corey Bennett. And so it's a PK. 12 yards out, 11.1 meters, as my co-host Philly likes to say. And he buries it. He beats Shuttler, and it's 2-1, 39 minutes into the game. And the boys are still playing really, really well. Right after the break, here's Bennett again. He takes a really nice long ball pass from Jean-Claude Ngannou, and he beats Shuttler, and it's 2-2. And one of the things that Orange County has done, similar to what Angel City has done, they try to keep going. They keep going. They get a little bit of bad luck, and unfortunately, the final goal for Las Vegas. Philly, we're going to get into this in a second, but I hate the own goal. Unless you turn around and kick the ball into the net, you should not be penalized for an old goal. The ball, Vaughn Colville takes this shot, pass, whatever you want to call it. It looked like a shot to me. It hits off of Marcus Nakim's leg. Shuttler's going to his left. The ball goes to his right. It hits off a Shuttler leg, and it's in the back of the net. To me, that's a goal for Vaughn. That's not an own goal on Shuttler. And, it's that type of bad luck that the boys have had. They've gotten smoked in a few games, but this game, they deserved a result. They really, truly did. It's the best game they played in months, right? And one of the things that they've done, and I think they really are going to have to embrace it. They're a couple of points out of the playoff spot now, right behind Phoenix Rising, and they're going to really have to knuckle back down and really understand, hey, we're getting some guys back from injury. Thomas Among came in the 74th minute, subbing in for Bryce Jamison. So Thomas hasn't played since June 1st, 3 months due to injury. And at the time, he was their leading goal scorer with 4 goals. Well, he's still top 3 because nobody scored in 6 weeks. So Ethan Zubak has taken the goal lead for Orange County. And they're gonna be back at the Champ. They don't play this weekend. They're going to be playing in Rhode Island comes to town, and Rhode Island's a pretty good team. They sit 5th in the East, and we're going to dig into Rhode Island and their players a lot more next week. But I think Coach Stone is got some work cut out for him, but I think he's going to be okay the rest of the season.
Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong, and a lot of things have gone wrong for Orange County. You want to talk about own goals and shots? Shots is what many supporters of Orange County SC need to consume to deal with the headache of a season that's transpired. To have Ethan Zubak have a successful game, score a brace, and only to see it just slip through their hands against a conference rival, that one hurts. But to your point, players have been out. All OCSC needs to do is stay right around that playoff line. And as we have seen, not very frequently, but as long as they could creep into the playoffs, that's a completely different season. You start bringing in other players that are healthy, now you can make a run. While it's not advantageous to go in with a low seed competing against the teams that are the higher seed, the very least you're in. And anybody who is in a competition, especially a knockout one, has a boxer's chance of throwing a punch and creating a surprise knockout. So Unfortunate result, but Ethan Zubak getting a couple of goals, that should up his confidence, and that should also up the confidence for OCSC, knowing that they can finally start scoring goals again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Zubak's going to keep doing it. And then you get Bryce Jamison back on the board. You get Thomas Among back. You get him back into playing shape. You get him to some quality minutes. Orange County is going to be very good over the next 5 or 6 weeks. And like you said, you get into the playoffs. Phoenix did it last year. They went all the way to the Cup final. So it's not that unheard of. And with that, Philly, we've got a brand new segment on the show for this week. LA's Best 11.
LA's Best 11 indeed. And shout out to Nina Kiefer for having the idea, for putting in the research and the development of it. So throughout all the teams that we cover here on Soccer in 60, LAFC, the Galaxy, Orange County Soccer Club, obviously, well, there you have them right there on the screen. If you're not seeing it on the screen, LAFC, the LA Galaxy, the Empire Strykers, that'd be interesting to see how they would feature here. Angel City in Orange County. Angel City was the only team out of all of those, exception Empire Strykers because they didn't play, is the only team that won around here. So what we've done is we found the best players from the best ratings, and we're going to throw it over to Nina real quick as she explains some of this, and we'll get back and comment on it. Take it away, Nina.
Thank you, and welcome to our newest segment on Soccer in 60, LA's Best 11. I'm Nina Kiefer. Every week, we, your hosts, are going to look at the performance of players from LAFC, LA Galaxy, Angel City FC, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, Empire Strykers, and then select which players across all teams and leagues are LA's Best 11. Today, we have 6 players from Angel City, 2 players from LA Galaxy, 2 from Orange County Soccer Club, and 1 from LAFC. And now, while Iron Woman Sarah Gordon gave an impressive performance, stitches, black eyes, and all, M.A. Vignola is my Angel City FC standout. M.A. is a natural winger with impressive attacking instincts. This week, she earned her second career NWSL assist in the 90th +1 minute to help forward Sydney Leroux nail the game-winning goal. And then Gabriel Peck is taking home the LA Galaxy standout, scoring the only goal for the Galaxy and an impressive 93% pass completion. Across town, Matty Bogusz claims the title for LAFC with 2 shots on target, and he is 1 for 1, 2 for 2, and 3 for 3 on accurate crosses, successful dribbles, and accurate long balls. Last but not least, our captain for the week, Ethan Zubak, who earned a brace for Orange County Soccer Club, scoring in the 11th and 19th minutes of the match. Make sure you're letting us know your thoughts. Tune in every week to see our picks and get at us at Soccer in 60 on Instagram with your feedback on LA's Best 11.
That was perfect. Thanks, Nina. Appreciate that. Philly, what do you think of that list that Nina's put together with a little bit of our help?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm surprised that anybody from LAFC made it onto the list. But if there was anybody, yes, Matty Bogusz is fine. He was over 90% in his passing accuracy, but LAFC got skunked against Houston. No goals there. Ethan Zubak, without a doubt, the best. It had to be the captain because the guy had a brace. Didi Hadercic. Didi, get out of my laboratory. She was the winning keeper in this scenario. I like all of these right here. Gabriel Peck continues to add to his stats, 11 goals, 10 assists on the season. You watched everything with Orange County. Maya Yoshida did what he could defensively for the LA Galaxy, obviously losing on the road to St. Louis. But like you said, St. Louis is a much better team at home than they are on the road. M.A. Vignola had the dime to Leroux. Leroux was on fire. And Jasmine Spencer, just lightning in a bottle. I mean, she's such a fast, swift fan favorite at BMO Stadium among the supporters for Angel City FC. I mean, this is a good list. Although when she was describing all of the stats for Matty Bogusz, it was just one of those, crosses, accurate passes. This is how we're rating him. A forward who normally scores. Team got skunked. Oh well.
Yeah. The forwards are Sydney Leroux this week, Matty Bogusz, and Ethan Zubak. Midfielders are Alyssa Thompson, Gabriel Peck, and Chris Heggart. Defenders, Sarah Gordon from Angel City, Jasmine Spencer, Vignola, Maya Yoshida from the Galaxy, and the goalkeeper of the week. Although, the goalkeepers had a tough week this weekend, but Didi Haracic from Angel City, she played the best out of the group. But, like she said, the captain of the week, the star of this week's LA's Best 11 is your forward, is Ethan Zubak from Orange County Soccer Club. He was just on fire. He played great. I like watching the guy play. We've had him on the show. He's a smart guy. He's played at the MLS level, and Philly, I think it's just a great list this week for the first one.
Yeah. Like we said earlier on, we're just debuting this for the first time, so we're just trying to get a feel for things. But this is a dynamite list based on the performances that were had. I mean, Sydney Leroux scored a goal. No doubt she would be there as the forward. Ethan Zubak, as you said, 2 goals, has to get the captain's armband. Matty Bogusz, well, he had 90% passing accuracy. Sure, throw that in there. Gabriel Peck scoring a goal. That was an important thing. I mean, these are all things that I just mentioned prior, but Didi Haracic, the inaugural keeper on the LA's Best 11 here by Soccer and 60. Great pick, because like I said, the only winning keeper. Hugo Lloris had an outstanding game. LAFC probably could have lost by a heck of a lot more had it not been for Hugo Lloris, but you got to give your nod to the keeper of the team that won.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it could have easily been 4 or 5-0 without the efforts of Hugo Lloris, because he played an amazing game. But you look at this list, it's a good list, and, it's fun. I think this is fun. Everybody out there listening to us and catching us on Instagram, you gotta tell us what you think of this list. We'll post this later on today. Podcast, listen to it, catch us on Instagram, and let us know what you think about this, because I think it's fun. I think we had a good time playing with it and hanging out with it, and to put Ethan Zubak as the captain this week, I think is pretty cool.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't say better.
Fantastic. Well, hey, you know what? Listen to us on the podcast. Catch us on all your podcast platforms. Our producers behind the scenes get those out right away. So 10 minutes, 15 seconds after the show shuts down, those things are up. Welcome. Thanks for coming to Soccer in 60, everybody. Rock and roll. We'll talk to you next week.